business or their profession. A lot of people feel like, what do I need a copywriter for? Tell people why is that important to have a copywriter?
Well, it's when you go out and you anybody who's tried to grow a business has had those periods of time where things sell that well, and then there's times when they don't sell very well, or maybe they never sell well, right? Very few people come out and they never have the ups and downs. Everybody has downs.
Yeah.
And what I tell people is, and I usually don't try to convince people, right? If you don't get it, there's other people who do get it. But you'll find that the people who have the most success, who have the most consistency and the best conditions on in their business are people who communicate their value in a unique way.
This episode is brought to you by ERC. Let me ask you a question. Did you have a business during the pandemic with 5 or more employees? If the answer is yes, you might be leaving money on the table. All you gotta do is go to ercbankroll.com and you can get your money. The best part about this, it only takes 5 minutes or less to see if you qualify. Go to ercbankroll.com and put in your name, email address, answer 2 questions, click on the submit button, and you're done. It's that simple. And get your money. So don't wait. Go to ERC Bankroll. Welcome to another episode of the Online Marketing Secrets Podcast. I'm your host, Lopaze. So like and share this episode. And P.S. by the way, before I get started, I would appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star review in iTunes or anywhere where you might be listening to the show. I want to hear what you think. I want to hear your feedback, any topics, anything I can help you with. Send me an email at support@kingofcashflowwebsites.com. That's support at oh Lord. Welcome to another episode of the Online Marketing Secrets Podcast. I'm your host, Lopaze. So like and share this episode. So before I get started, I would appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star review in iTunes or anywhere where you might be listening to the show. I want to hear your feedback. I want to hear what you think. Anything I can help you with, any topics you would like me to talk about, or any guests you would like me to bring on. Send me an email at support@kingofcashflowwebsites.com. That's support@kingofcashflowwebsites.com, or just click the link in the show notes. So with that being said, today I have a special guest, somebody that I've been watching online for a long time now. Somebody that's taken their career to the next level, if I would say so myself. And so this is a show for you if maybe you want to promote your product and services online, or maybe you're having problems trying to get started online. This is a show for you. Or maybe you want to become a copywriter or a direct response writer. And my guest today has done exactly that. He's a direct response copywriter and marketing consultant. He helped clients leverage their human attention algorithm and convert that attention into action. And his copy has generated over $120 million in sales for his clients. My special guest today is Donnie Bryant. Welcome to the show. So, where you from?
Well, I was born in Alabama. I grew up in North Dakota. And then after high school, I moved to Chicago, and I've been in the Chicago area since then.
Oh, nice. I mean, I spent
My
a lot
father
of
was in the
time.
Air Force. So, you know, we moved around. I mean, he moved around, but then he retired shortly after I was born, and we just stayed in North Dakota.
Nice, man. You know, I spent some time in Chicago because I in the Great Lakes. I was in the Navy.
Oh yeah,
So I spent some time up there. Yeah. Yes, I always say Chicago is one of my favorite cities, and it's the cleanest city in America. It's very clean.
There are some places that are pristine. Some places a little less so.
Yeah.
Like any city, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. So how'd you get started in copywriting? Because, you know, I don't know about you, but when I first came online, I've never heard of copywriting. I thought when people said copywriting, they're talking about copyrights.
Yeah.
You know, so how'd you get started in copywriting?
That's what my neighbors still think.
Yeah.
You're a copywriter? Okay, I got something. No, it's none of that. And it's understandable because it's becoming more widely recognized as a word now. But, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, nobody knew what it was. Here's what's interesting. The whole time I've been online, I mean, even with social media and everything, I think I started writing copy before I got on Facebook. It was very strange. But here's the nutshell version of it. I don't have a degree. I didn't have any particularly valuable working skills, right? I got married when I was 19 years old to my wife. Look, she's like the perfect woman. So when I had my chance, I snatched her up. And then, I mean, I was a freshman in college, and so I guess I gotta go make some money. And I just got into the regular retail thing, and you get to the point where you're working so many hours for so little money. And we had 2 kids, we had twin daughters, a little more than a year after we got married, and then a couple years later, we had our third child, my older son, and I needed more money, and I really wanted to be with them. So I started thinking, or I started looking like, what can I do where I can make decent money or good money from home? Because I was working up to 80 hours a week, not counting the commute, for $35,000 a year. And it's like, when you do the math, it's like less than minimum wage. It was like, it might have been right at minimum wage what I was doing, but for hard work. So anyway, I started like, what can I do? And I started browsing online and discovered copywriting pretty quickly. Fortunately for me, I guess the even further backstory. I grew up thinking I was going to be a writer. I didn't know what copywriting was, right? I thought I would write books or something. I always wanted to do that. And so that might have been part of how I discovered copywriting. But when I saw it, I said, I think I could do this. And that was 2007. And I just dove right in. Let me do all the studying I can do. So I was working my 80-hour-a-week job and trying to learn copywriting on my lunch break when I got lunch breaks and after work, and just built from there.
Yeah, your story is very similar to mine, because at the time I was working 55 hours a week, and I met this guy on MySpace, and he was like, hey, he said he was in direct sales, right? I'm like, what the heck is that? And then he was like, hey, I can show you how to make more money. And he was like, he started showing me how to place ads offline, newspapers, and he would put an 800 number at the bottom and let people call, and I would send people a newsletter in the mail. And because in my mind, I had to find something that I could do while I was still working my full-time job. Yeah. So, but the only problem is like when people would in the beginning, I didn't have an 800 number to send people to. I actually send people to my phone because I didn't think people would call like that. I started getting.
There's no frame of reference for you. You just get in. You don't have really know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So I started getting so many calls. I couldn't answer all the calls. And that's when he was like, "No, you need to outsource that to somebody else. Let them take the calls and get the addresses, and you do the mailing. That's all, you know." So yeah, I can relate to a lot of that.
Well, you learn some of them points of leverage early on, which is good. It took me a lot longer to learn those things.
Yeah, you know. So how did you even know? Well, first of all, how did you know that you were good at it? I mean, yeah, that's the first thing.
Number one, I believe I was a good writer. Which writing and copywriting aren't the same, because you can be a novelist or a poet and be a great writer in that sense and be a horrible copywriter. And I didn't have that background, but I did have a sales background. I sold cell phones, I sold fine watches face to face, and I sold other intangible things. I did some telemarketing, all the things that you do when you don't have any experience, any direction. And you say, I got to go make some money, whatever I can do.
Yeah.
So I learned how to sell face to face. Not that I was a spectacular salesperson, but I had the experience and I could write. And so when I found out you could put those two together, I wasn't good, but I said I can get good. I believe that I can get good at this. And so I started studying. At my 80-hour-a-week job, it wasn't always 80. It was at least 55. When the district manager said that's the expectation for this role, 55 minimum, and I'm on salary. So if you work more than that, that's what you got to do. If you work less than that, you're in trouble. So, but I would go across the street, because right across the parking lot was a library. There's Bob Bly books in there and stuff. So I would study on my lunch break when I had lunch breaks, and I went home and figured out how to find stuff online. John Carlton, Clayton Makepeace, and those guys, Gary Halbert, and just started studying. So I said, I need to get good at this. But I don't think I had the sense that I was good, but I believed I could get good. And I worked as hard as I could to get good as quickly as I could, but still took some time. The other thing that's true is you don't really know how good you are, no matter how many books you've read, until you do it. So I had to get clients so that I could see what I was actually able to do and to improve. You learn on the job. I think that's with many things. The only way you really know if you're good or how to get better is to go out and do the thing in real life.
Yeah, you can read all the books you want, you can listen to all the audio you want, but until you really start doing it, until you get some type of results that you can point to, that will fuel you and give you confidence to help other people. Yeah.
I got a book, right here, it's on firefighting. That doesn't mean I can go out there and put out a fire in a building. I got a book, I can read it cover to cover, memorize it, but it's a different thing when you go out there. There's a fire, there's a building burning down, all these things. The only way you learn is to get out there and to do it. Yeah.
So, hey, what's your definition of copywriting? Because in this day and time, back in the day, they used to say, copywriting is salesmanship in print. But along with the new media, how do you see copywriting today?
Yeah, I'll say two things. For the people who are not copywriters, I usually say copywriting is writing stuff to sell stuff. That's very simple, right? For people who do know what copywriting is, my definition is related to that. Salesmanship in print, which is ultimately what it is. But in today's time, we had to go beyond what traditionally we think of it when we think of sales. So I call it showmanship in print. We had to figure out how to get attention, maintain attention, and deliver a message with value. And that when we think of sales, we think of somebody who's coming in and just pitching. And you can't do that in most cases online anymore. You gotta entertain, you gotta add value, you gotta do a little education, and you can then sell as much as you want to sell, but you can't just sell just pure pitching. It doesn't work. Yeah,
exactly. I don't like when I first came online, it was like a pitch fest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like a pitch fest, man. Now today, it's a little bit of both. You see some pitching, but you see a lot of entertainment. You see a lot of trolling.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, you see a lot of. But yeah, back in the day, man, it was like a pitch fest. It was like, I mean, it was like people didn't even try to build relationships.
It's true. There was no concept of that.
Yeah, I think so. Because when I first started learning from other people, the first thing they would say is, instead of trying to pitch people, educate them. And when you educate people, that lowers their guard down. That makes they'll see you as different, especially back in the day. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And I found that educating, because most people, when you boil it down, they don't have a great degree of confidence in the area that you're trying to sell them in, right? I want to sell you a copywriting course. Like, sell me a copywriting course. I'm not a great writer. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. As you do some educating, you plant the seed of belief in their mind. Oh, maybe I could do this. And then you begin to tell some stories, and you said, Donnie Bryant didn't know how to write copy either. But you learn a few things, you try a few things, and you discover. And now I'm going to show you what I learned to take you from wherever you are to, a good copywriter. And then from there, you can become a great copywriter. So the educational part is selling, because it's creating the mind frame of, I might be able to buy this, because people won't buy until they feel enough, like they feel educated enough to know they're making a good choice. If they don't know if it's a good choice, they just won't make it. So you can educate. But education is, I believe, there's a place for education. When you're selling, you can educate too much. So you educate enough so that people, again, they have some belief. They believe that you're an expert. But if you over-educate, then they'll think they can do it themselves, right? Or you just, the mystery is gone, the tension is gone, and you can't sell. So you educate them for the purpose of bringing them to the place where they see the smartest thing that I can do right now is to just buy this product or hire this person. So you gotta, there's kind of a tightrope walk of not educating enough and educating too much. You gotta kind of play around and see where the line is for you.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance, when it comes to that. So what areas do you focus on as far as copywriting goes? Yeah,
these days, I always say these days, but really it's been like 7-8 years. Okay. I've been doing, financial has been my primary focus. Both financial publishers, which are newsletters and things like that. Like I've written for Agora Financial and guys like that, or organizations like that. But also I work with accountants, wealth managers, financial advisors, and stuff like that. So financial services, which is the opposite of financial publishing, but I've been on both sides. Life insurance, annuities, stuff like that. All kinds of financial stuff, financial education as well. That's primarily, not the only thing that I do, but that's what has primarily been my focus for the past 7 or 8 years, probably 8 years.
Is it a tough market?
It is. It is. I can say the financial publishing side is hard because, first of all, I think it's a little different now, but in the earlier days, in my experience, you kind of had to have experience to get in that field already. It was hard to have no experience in that field and break in. Nowadays, I think they're more saying, you can learn this, we can teach you this, we know enough about how to sell in this market that we can train somebody who knows basic copywriting stuff. We can teach you how to do financial, but it's a very sophisticated market. So coming up with new ideas and new ways of saying things that they've heard before, it's challenging. And then also just to stay within the guidelines of what's legal to say. There's a lot of regulation. On the financial services side, it's even more regulated, and there's also hesitation on the part of many financial professionals to do some of the more out there. They like kind of stay in a little box. I won't say that across the board, but in many cases, they're hesitant to try some of the more exciting things. They want to play it safe, and they're kind of used to that. So it's challenging, a little challenging in a way to get attention from those people in terms of like for me, for example, getting a client in that space. They more have to come to me. I can't go and sell them on the idea. Hey, you need a copywriter. They probably won't. No, like I'm not doing that. But when I show up as doing the things that I do and talking about the areas where I have expertise, then they'll say, oh, okay, this is something that could work for me, and then they'll reach out to me, which works better. It's, that's also a space, like I said, there's a lot of regulation, so it's tough, but you can learn. Anybody who wants to can learn.
Yeah, the reason why I said it, the markets change all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like back in the day, well, even still to this day, some of those guys still right in those markets, and they used to talk about the doom and gloom, like the world is about to end.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do when the markets crash?
That's true. The biggest, we still talk about it. It's been over 10 years, but the biggest promotion in the history of financial publishing, as far as I know, end of America, like the end of America, right?
Yeah.
Which fascinatingly was the first video sales letter that I sat and watched beginning to end, and I was convinced. It's like, what am I gonna do? Right, exactly what you said. The economy's about to collapse. I got to get out of the dollar and buy some Chinese yuan, whatever it was. I think that's what they were selling. I'm not selling, but what they were convincing you.
Yeah,
this is going to become the new reserve currency. Anyway, the doom and gloom thing works, but I'll tell you something that's interesting. Doom and gloom gets a lot of attention, and at certain times, depending on what's happening in the market and the economy, those promotions work really well. But they tend to, on the back end, be lower conversion. When people are scared, they hunker down, don't want to do anything. So you can scare them into buying the first thing, but then selling them the upsell can be difficult. Yeah. And especially at certain times, like, it's much better to sell them, here's opportunity. So we go with the greed instead of the fear. We go with the greed, and then you can sell them everything else right there. Yeah. Oh, I can profit from crypto. I can profit from AI. I can profit from whatever the next thing is, right? Quantum computing, space, all these things are just new opportunities. So you can't get too far ahead of yourself, but the positivity, tends to have a more profitable back end when you try to sell higher price things over time. You want to be able to have the positivity. So you gotta be able to do both, because certain times, again, if everyone is scared, you try and sell them greed, they're like, no, it doesn't even make sense. If they're scared, you sell them some fear stuff. At least you begin with fear, and then you can turn around. It's a tough time, but if you do this, you'll be safe. If you do this, you can actually come out ahead. So you got to figure out how to do both. But doom and gloom, of course, is big. It's very big.
Yeah, the big thing today is AI.
One of my clients did an AI promo this weekend, and I didn't look at my email all week. My son was at a golf tournament. My son was in a golf tournament, so I didn't bring my computer. I didn't look at work. And on Monday, I opened up and I saw my clients. I didn't write them, but my client, one of their other copywriters, did it. And there was like in the 25 messages on the first thing in my inbox, there were 12 AI subject lines in the emails, and only 2 of them were ours. So this is the weekend. Everybody's promoting AI, but that's the hottest topic.
Oh,
period.
Yeah.
That's the opportunity, but not only for copywriters, for everybody. Everyone's talking about how to use AI to explode your business, make more money, and never have to really work hard again, which is a bit of an overstatement.
Yeah,
it's definitely an opportunity. Yeah,
it's hilarious, man.
Yeah. What's interesting? I mean, there are people who are using it really well, really intelligent. And then there are people who are getting too excited and saying, "Hey, ChatGPT, write me a book," and then copying and pasting, and they think it's a book. You still have to put some interesting context in if you want something interesting and quality to come out.
Exactly. So, do you find it very difficult to see? A lot of people don't. They feel like there's no value in a copywriter as far as their business or their profession. Yeah. A lot of people feel like, what do I need a copywriter for? Tell people why is that important to have a copywriter?
Well, it's when you go out and anybody who's tried to grow a business has had those periods of time where things sell well, and then there's times when they don't sell very well, or maybe they never sell well, right? Very few people come out and they never have the ups and downs. Everybody has downs.
Yeah.
And what I tell people is, and I usually don't try to convince people, right? If you don't get it, there's other people, there's other people who do get it. But you'll find that the people who have the most success, who have the most consistency, and the best conditions on in their business, are people who communicate their value in a unique way and in a convincing, persuasive way. And people who just say, "Hey, I'm here, come buy from me." You don't have that. There's nothing to make you stand out. There's nothing to make you interesting. There's nothing that makes you valuable. So, I mean, those things are there. You're interesting and you're valuable, but no one knows it. So you have to be able to communicate that. And that's what a copywriter does. We figure out ways of putting your unique value, your personality, your experience, all those things out in words, in ways that are going to be attractive to the people you want to work with. Most people don't have those skills. And yes, you learned how to write. Sure, we all learned ABCs in kindergarten, right? And we learned sentences and subjects and predicates and all those things in school. But nobody in school taught us how to persuasively write. You had to learn that. I mean, there are some copywriting courses now, right, in college, couple colleges, and there's things you can buy. But you either had to learn how to communicate like that yourself, which is fine, or you find somebody else who already knows how to do that. And I say this all the time too. You might be the best copywriter for your business. You just have to figure out how, because you know everything. You just have to figure out how to put that in the right formats, how to put that out there. And a lot of times it's not the best use of your time to do that. As a CEO or an owner, founder, you got to run the whole business. If you got employees, you got to manage all that stuff. You got to come up with new offers, all those things. And the best use of your time might be to focus on those things and to hire somebody who can just write. That's what they do. That's their expertise. That's what they're proficient at. And you can just outsource that to them. But I mean, you might be great. I know plenty of CEOs who they could have done my job, maybe not as well, but 80% as well. But they didn't have time for it, right? Like, I'm running my business. I'm running a $20 million business, $20 million a year business. I'll hire somebody to write copy for $100,000, right? Instead of having to stop, figure out my emails, figure out my video scripts, figure out my Google ads, figure out my Facebook ads, you don't want to do all that.
Yeah.
So we can be expensive. Good copywriters usually are, in terms of what you got to lay out for cash, but the return on that can be astronomical, right? So it just depends on that. But in terms of, like, the values of your business, the stories, you know your customers. So you might be a great copywriter for your business if you can make the time for it, and you can learn how to. You got to also have time to test things. But if you can learn how to put things in formats that work for you, you might be the guy or the gal to do that. So it's okay. There are people who should write their own copy. Yeah. There are people who definitely should not.
There's this realtor, very successful realtor here where I live. Man, she's killing it out here, man. I mean, last year she sold over 300 houses.
So that's more houses than there are weekdays in the year.
Yeah, but she came to me and said, "Hey, how do I promote myself online?" So I was hanging around her for about a month, and I said, "You know what? You're already doing everything. You're just not recording it. You're already doing," because she does speeches, workshops around town. I said, "You're already doing everything. You just have to record it and maybe give them a call to action every once in a while and tell them to call you and upload it."
No, and I was going to say the exact same thing with the prevalence of video now. You don't even necessarily have to write anything. You have to write a little. But if you can get on video and be persuasive on video.
Yeah. And she's already doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, and plus she already has the credibility, and she's been doing it, I think probably 10 years, and she's a likable person.
How many houses is she trying to sell?
I know, right? That's a good problem there.
Good problem.
Yeah. So, but she's what's interesting, a lot of these people like her, they'll say things like, "How do I get more leads?" Well, how many more do you want?
Right.
you know. Yeah. But they can look at somebody else that's in the same field and be like, "Yo, you should be doing this and you should be doing that." But when it comes to them, it's like they can't see it. I find that to be very interesting.
I think it's 100% true, right? We can't see our own situation or what we can't see how other people see us. We see ourselves, we take for granted certain things. Yeah. And you might be killing it and say, but I'm not like this person. Yeah, I'm just like you. And there's people looking at you saying, dang, wow, I wish I could do it like this person. I think the same thing is true for copy. Sometimes you're too close to your own product or service to really write about it because you take everything for granted. But if you can figure out how to unlock that, you'll be great. And that's the other thing, right? Lead generation. How many leads do you want? Well, that's part of the equation. How many of your leads are you converting? Right? If you're converting 10% of your leads, you don't need more leads. You need to convert more of those leads. So this realtor, right? You might be converting 100% of your leads. Then it's a lead question. Or, maybe it's a price point question. Instead of selling $500,000 houses, it's time to sell $5 million houses, right? Yeah. You don't have to necessarily do more work to make more money.
Yeah, exactly. So being that you've been online back in the day, and compared to today, do you think it's easier today versus the way it used to be back in the day, as far as coming online and getting started and everything?
Yeah, I think it's easier to get started. I think it's harder to get momentum, to get noticed, and to get people to work with you. In terms of you got establishing credibility, establishing visibility. Yeah, you might have all the credibility, but putting it online in a way that people can see it, appreciate it, and act accordingly. I think it's harder because there's so much more competition. Even if you had one competitor in your space, he's probably doing 10 times more stuff than he was 10 years ago, right? He's on YouTube, he's on Instagram, he's on TikTok, he's doing everything. And you can come online. All those things are easy, and many of them are free. But because there's so many things you got to do, you got to do either really nail something really so well that there's no competition for you on LinkedIn or on wherever. Yeah. Or you got to kind of be in a lot of places. So I think, to answer that question, I think it's extremely easy to get started. But I know, and too, a lot of people who you've been online for 2 years and it hasn't worked for you, and you're thinking about quitting now. Yeah, because it is hard to carve out space for yourself online, unless it's just harder than it was. And I encourage people, if you pick a small pond where you can be a big fish in a small pond, rather than trying to be, I'm a realtor. Okay, great, right? You can be a specific realtor for a specific audience, and then you have less competition or no competition, and you have more targeting. You can have your messaging more tuned in, more appealing to that specific audience, and all those things work in your benefit. And we're kind of tempted to be everything for everybody, and that's a recipe for disappointment. Yeah. I mean, I always say, hey, start small, and then if you blow up, then you can be everything for everybody. Sure. Sure. That's what I always say, man. We think if I have a lot of, I'm doing 7 different things, one of them will hit, but you're just spreading yourself real thin, and you're probably not excellent in all 7 things when you could be excellent in one thing, in one area. Yeah. I remember, like, back in the day, if you had a blog, you could put a blog up and use certain keywords. Yes. And it might take off. Yeah. Today, a whole lot of people. You're right. A whole lot of people. You just figured out the keyword strategy, and you're number 1 on Google, and your AdSense revenue is there. It's harder. It's much harder today. Yeah, man. So, in a perfect world, who would be your ideal client? It's a great question. Warren Buffett. I hear you. Robert F. Smith. Right. Yeah, I hear you. Billionaires who can give me $1 million at one time. Yeah. The big fish. Yes, that'd be ideal. Yeah. So I love work with Richard Smith, right? Doing amazing things, and for the culture, doing amazing things in the space, and then making a lot of money and helping a lot of other people make money. So that'd be, I guess, in a perfect world. Warren Buffett is cool, right?
Yeah.
Robert Smith would be.
Yeah. So, do you attend events? You still go to events?
You know what's interesting? For the longest time, I was saying I'm only going to events that I'm speaking at, and probably for the last 5 years, even before the pandemic. I really didn't do anything in the pandemic, but even before the pandemic, I was saying, I don't want to go to events unless I'm speaking at them. I'm starting to think that that's a silly approach. I'm missing out on opportunities.
Like too.
Yeah?
I was like that too, yeah. Until about 2019, I stopped doing that. I started attending events now.
Well, I'm curious to know how you. Well, I'll tell you, my thing is this. You won't believe it, but I'm an introvert. When I get into the room, okay, well then you do get it. You get in the room, and I don't do the things that make being in the room valuable, right? Connecting with people, building relationships, getting to know different stuff, and then I sit in the back corner and kind of chill out, take some notes. And I'm like, I paid a lot of money to learn this. I probably could have learned it online for less, and I wouldn't have had to leave the house. And for me, when I travel, I take my family with me. So it's not, if it's not in Chicago, and we don't have enough events in Chicago, but I'll fly to DC or, Houston or whatever, and I got to bring everybody. So now it's a very expensive trip, and I'm going to sit in a room without my family. I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. So anyway, but I'm starting to rethink it. I see the value. I just got to step out of my comfort zone, which is silly. I already know that, but I just haven't. I positioned it as I'm Donnie Bryant. I don't need to sit in nobody's room, but it was really silly of me to feel that way.
Yeah. I started. I mean, for a long time, I was kind of in my own little world,
Sure.
But so I didn't know anybody that was doing what I was doing online around me. Anybody.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is I became a loner.
Yeah.
And every time I'm traveling by myself because everyone has to work. I'm going to events. Everyone has to work. Regardless of where I was going, no one could go. Everyone had to work.
Yeah.
So, and plus, I just got tired of doing that. I was like, man, I should just, reach out to some people and, start my own little club, my own little group or something like that. And I realized that I like that. I actually like meeting other people. I actually like showing other people how to do things. And I don't gotta be by myself anymore. And plus, I meet the best of the best. I meet people they got $100 million company, and they'll say, "Hey, man, if you ever need anything, if you ever need me to speak, or you want to do an event or anything like that, call me, man. If you ever need any help with a business or whatever you got, just call me, man."
Yeah.
So I enjoy that part, but I mean, I was for like 10 years. I was pretty much by myself.
Yeah. I get that, and it's better to do with other people.
Yeah, it is. It really is, man. But because I'm like you, I know I can be outgoing sometimes, but sometimes I just don't feel like talking. Sometimes I might not be in the best mood or whatever, Right. But if someone says something to me first, I'll talk,
Yeah.
But I'm not so, I'm not naturally, I'm kind of laid back, standoffish or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've kind of pushed myself to get out of that, because I found that, the more people you meet, the more, you grow faster and get better, and you might just make a friend,
So true. It's good to have friends. It's good to, have a network of people you can refer or get referrals from. Yeah. It's cool to have people you can ask questions of, I wonder how this works. And the more people the more diverse areas that they have expertise in. You can have all your answers. Have answered to all your questions just within your own network. It's great. I always love, to be able to, someone says, hey, I'm looking for this. People know, talk to Donnie, because I know a lot of people. I've connected with a ton of people in over the, past years. Going into live events accelerates that, multiplies that, and then takes it to a whole nother level. Meeting someone online is one thing. Meeting someone in real life, the relationship is just a higher quality and it's deeper. So it's smart to be able to do that. But having a network instead of trying to be, I thought for a long time I can do this all by myself. It's not true.
Yeah,
it's not really true. It's not really true.
No,
and even good. Do you want to do it that way? No, you rather have friends. You rather have compatriots who you can do it with and you can share with. So, I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
So if people wanted to work with you and follow you online, where would they go to?
Yeah, that's my website right there. I don't do much. I'm thinking I need to, it's just in blog format now. I think I need to make a real website. I'll try to be too cool for school. I just blog. I'm not selling anything. I'm not doing anything. Just sharing my thoughts. So I'll probably update it at some point. I do have a newsletter there. So if you go to that, Donnie-Bryant.com, you can sign up for my email newsletter, which is, I just send once a week currently, sharing some of my best ideas and experiences on writing copy, persuasion, stuff like that. I like sending people to my YouTube channel as well. I have a lot of videos, a lot of lessons. I'm not really selling anything. I'm just trying to teach, trying to show people how to do things. And most of it is designed where you don't have to be a copywriter to benefit from it. It'll just improve your writing skills, your communication skills, your persuasion skills. And I'm on LinkedIn. So that's 3 things, I guess. Website, YouTube, LinkedIn. I'm one of the few Donnie Bryants. If you look up Donnie Bryant, I'll probably pop up pretty quickly, and you can see this mug.
Yeah.
The other guy's a dentist, and there's an auto mechanic, and I think there's a insurance agent or something. You'll find me.
There you have it. All links will be found in the show notes. Until next time, we're out. Peace.